Are you borrowing all these books? Don't overdo it. Hi everyone, welcome to Bulliness Pages to my November wrap-up. It's honestly so nice to be filming again, and I'm glad I got my old glasses back. If you're wondering what happened to the other ones, my face got hit by a basketball. They broke, and then I was pretty useless for the remainder of the game, which is kind of ironic since the only reason I got picked for teams is because I'm tall. And they kind of thought I was good at basketball, which I'm not. But anyways, November was busy. I participated in MUN ICJ. It was a lot of fun, but a very busy, very work-filled month. Don't have any photos, it was virtual, but honestly everyone was so prepared and supporting, and it was great. I also did Nanowrimo for the second time in my life, and even though last year I've managed to hit the 50,000 word goal, this year I only hit 25,000, but it's okay because I also feel that the work that I've done this year, honestly I'm really proud of it. Out of the writing, it has to be some of the best writing I've ever done. I'll maybe post it sometime, but only when I finish, and there's a lot left to do. So I managed to read 14 books and it was a pretty good reading month. So I'll start with the books I don't have a video on because half of these months reads I've made a video on this YouTube channel. So yeah, I'll talk about the ones that I don't have a video on. For example, The Handmaid's Tale, I have my discussing / analyzing video, and I gave the book 5 stars, by the way. I'll link it in the cards somewhere and in the description box below. I don't have a video on The Testaments, the sequel, so let's briefly discuss my 4-star rating now. I thought this book was unnecessary, to be honest. It was beautifully written as usual, impeccable plot, but I had the feeling that The Handmaid's Tale should have just been left at that. And I realized that it's ironic that I say unnecessary because considering this reading month where it's only like half of the books I talk about, but hypocrisy. I thought I wanted to know what happened, but guess I didn't. Maybe the mystery was part of the appeal of book 1. I don't regret reading it, but I just feel like this one wasn't needed. It had all the elements of beautiful writing. The feeling that maybe I shouldn't be like reading it, it just puts you off. Nevertheless, I finished it because I didn't want to DNF it, so I gave it 3.5 stars, rounded up. Another super hyped up book that I've read this month and haven't posted about is A Deadly Education by Naomi Novik. This was a book I hoped would be a better Harry Potter and a less problematic one. I had really high expectations because everyone was telling me about how great Novik is, how like they've read these amazing books by her, and honestly I guess my plank was just to hi. Okay, that was a moment of pure embarrassment. I love the concept. So basically this is a book about a school for the magically gifted where their only like role is to submit assignments and stuff and live long enough to graduate. Sounds cool, right? Well, I didn't love every aspect, but the plot definitely. The first part was that I found the narrator a nice change from the usual YA characters, where the narrator is like, oh, I'm so amazing, oh, I'm so talented, but I totally don't even notice that like, while I'm out here just doing fantastic stuff, everyone's like living their normal non-genius life, which is low-key so annoying. And like, okay, I think you just need to be extremely egoistic to not notice that the people around you are struggling with life a little more than you. Like, I think if you're good at something, you should be helping people out. So this whole like, oh, I'm amazing, I'm talented, and I don't even know this thing is just like, it was a nice change, but the sarcasm felt a little forced as well. Now, I admit, when it comes to books, I get a little sarcastic and probably annoying myself, especially if I don't like the book, or on the contrary, I like it a little too much. But yeah, okay, in the beginning, Naomi Novik was pushing this kind of detached personality thing, and it felt a little like its only goal was to kind of make the book unique and set it apart from other YA novels, so it felt a little too pushed upon the reader. But good news is I think she got away with it because later in the book it honestly just fit in really well with the events and it was nice. On the other hand, let's do something more normal. The love interest made me want to bang my head against the wall, and you know what, I just might have done that if it wasn't for my glasses, because knowing me, I would have broken them. He was so I don't even know how to explain it. He was too volatile. One moment he was happy, one moment he wasn't. And yeah, he pretty much had no personality. That was him the entire book. He was just like, hi, and then the other moment he was like, who are you? Get away from me, like, who is this stranger? Like, why? Just why? 3 stars for this book. The second book I've read was Fluent Forever, nonfiction. It was about how to learn any language fast and never forget it. I particularly enjoyed the writing style. It lured you in. It was so amusing and enthusiastic. It felt like the author just was cheering me on. Like, he genuinely wanted me to succeed and be good at learning languages. I would recommend this book for absolute beginners, but for intermediate language learners. It gave a couple of great techniques and good resources, but felt a little drawn out. It probably could have been a little short. So 4 stars. Kafka on the Shore. I have a complicated relationship with Haruki Murakami because I read Norwegian Wood, and oh my god, I hated that book. The characters were so overly exaggerated to make them seem more human. There was a lack of plot. It was just like so many people were recommending it to me and it just fell flat. Honestly, I complain about this book on my channel a lot. But then again, it's better than Never Let Me Go, but don't get me started on that. So honestly, the writing was beautiful, but the book disappointed. Luckily, however, Kafka on the Shore absolutely stole my heart. This book was recommended to me by a couple of friends on Bookstagram. Guys, can you recommend me a book that's like by Haruki Murakami but not Norwegian Wood, because I really hated it. And you know what? Bookstagram was like, oh, we got your back. You know, we're here for you. We're here to recommend Murakami for you. You appreciate the beautiful writing, and I do. I really appreciate it. It's fantastic. And this book, Kafka on the Shore, did not disappoint me at all. Can we just like have a round of applause for Kafka on the Shore for the genius of this book? It's a very strange book. Has to be one of the strangest books I've read. But the metaphors, the way that everything was structured, the dreamlike quality of the prose, has to be one of the best books I've read in 2020, hands down. Even if you don't like books that have this like strange, unexplained events, weird world, all of that, read it just for the beautiful writing. The best way to describe this mystery would be meh. Kind of like my energy in the last few videos when I was tired from studying for science tests that got cancelled because of Corona. The book didn't hook me in any way. It was too constant. Nothing seemed to shock me. But it was a nice break from the poetry and the nonfiction that I was reading, so that's why I gave it 3 stars, perhaps higher than it deserved. The characters were okay, and I enjoyed the extra storylines. The murder was okay too. Oh my god. Murder was interesting, but not the kind of thing that keeps you from going to sleep when you're really tired, okay? So as well as that, I felt like there was a bit of an information dump in the beginning, but that was probably because it's the second book in the series, and I may or may not have just skipped the first and the third and just went straight in. I don't know why I did that. I don't think it mattered particularly, but then again, I'm not planning on reading the rest of the series, so I'm not qualified to tell you that. Wouldn't recommend, but not a bad book. Le Fleur du Mal. Something about this collection, I read both the French and the English, just steals your heart. I have around 3,000 words of quotes that I want to learn and cherish. Tickles your soul, and my favorite poems were the ones that were censored. I already spoke about Le Lycée, another book that I speak about a lot, just because of the imagery that it never fails to produce before my eyes. So if you read one poem by Baudelaire, I hope you read this one. 5 stars, nothing less, and can I just redirect you to these poems? There's a great site called fleurdumal.org. So basically it's just dedicated to Fleur du Mal by Charles Baudelaire, and yeah, so it's basically dedicated to Baudelaire's poems. You can find them for free, and there's numerous translations along with the original French. It's great because as a French learner, it's fantastic for me to be able to read the French, translate it in my head, and then compare it with the English translations. Okay, a brief history of misogyny. This one took me a while. It's a lot to process. And I mean, it's a lot to process, because this book, it's not like, oh, so this happened, then a bit of politics, then a bit of history, then a bit of personal views, literary devices, and oh, look, the book's done. No, this book is pure content. They say informative, I mean, there was a lot of information, like a lot of information. I just want to say that even with this book getting straight to the point and your brain absolutely reeling, from the amount of information. The volume of information inside this book is astronomical. There's a certain level of spice to the writing, word choices, and such that makes you keep reading, and that's what makes books like this so good. You can literally be spinning from the amount of information that's being placed into your head, but you still want to keep on reading. Another great recommendation by the Bibliophile. Of course, this book was by no means a list of full history on the oppression that women face over centuries, but I think it's a comprehensive place to start. It's a great foundation. You can read this book. I'll actually recommend starting with this book. I think it's a great starting point. So read this book, read more and more books, and let's all read together and become more aware. All right. Thanks for watching, and let me know any of your thoughts on this. Now onto the constant redirection. Please feel free to go down to the description box and see all of the videos on the remaining 7 books that I've talked about but didn't mention here. You can choose the book that interests you the most. I'll wrap it up here. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week.